Yeah. Hello there. Welcome to our Saturday edition of Acrylic Pouring Extravaganza. I had some last minute technical problems. My mouse died on me and I couldn't start the live, so I had to run and get my other mouse. So wow, I guess I've been using it way too much lately, going live every single day. But welcome everybody. We've got a whole bunch of people already here. We've got Monique is here, Carla, hello, Susan, hello. So this is going to be kind of fun, a fun little talk. We're going to talk about some color palettes, kind of how to pick some interesting color palettes, how to get some color ideas, because sometimes that can be a big problem. So we're going to look at multiple different ways to get color ideas, color inspiration, and hopefully it'll be a little eye-opening and a whole lot of fun. So welcome everyone else who's joining us. So we've got Jeanette is here from Greece. Welcome. Wow, that's a long trip. But thanks for joining us. So let's see here. So I've got a download for you. You can pick this up inside the Acrylic Pouring Extravaganza downloads area that you signed up for. It's called Color Scheme Ideas. And so it's got multiple types of ideas to get your brain rolling and get color ideas percolating in your mind. So it's there are no like set color palettes on here. These are all just different ideas, and we're going to be covering all these today. So, all right, but before we get into that, let's see here. I've got. Let's see, I'm sure more people will be joining us as we get going, but let's see here. What do I want to do first? Well, let's take a look. Let me flip my camera and we'll take a look at the first little area of colors, and we'll get going from there. I'm still kind of flummoxed from running around having to fix my mouse last second, so forgive me. I need to just take a deep breath. Okay. So let me flip the camera and we'll take a little quick look here. All right. So here we go. Let me zoom in a little bit. I've got all kinds of stuff, as you can see, over on the side. Let's zoom in there, maybe a little more. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to give you a little overview of this, and then we'll get into kind of the nitty-gritty. So this is the download that you can get. It looks a little dark. Maybe I'll brighten it just a touch. That looks a little bit better. So here are some color scheme ideas, tips for interesting color palettes. So first of all, we're going to talk about values. And we talked about this kind of extensively in one of our earlier talks. And there are a bunch of different ways we can work with values. We're going to look at color temperature. This is a fun way to come up with color palettes based on the warm or cool colors you're using in your color palette. We're going to look at some classic color harmonies. I'm not going to go into this really detailed because this would take a long time, but I'm going to give you an overview of some of what these classic color harmonies are. We're going to take a look at some fun websites that you can go to and get some cool color ideas. These are fun for inspiration. If you have no idea where you want to start with your colors, or you just are totally just have no clue, if you're bored with your colors, or just you've tried everything you think, these are some fun websites to get some inspiration. And then we're going to take a look at a color swatch mix and match technique, which is kind of fun. So that's what we're going to kind of cover today. And it'll be kind of fun. It'll be cool. I like this. I'm not going to do any painting, but we're just going to be talking about color, hopefully in a fun way, in an inspiring, interesting way. So before I do that, though, I want to jump over and show you the membership. The Pouring Studio membership is live right now. You can sign up, become a member of the Pouring Studio, and it's going to be open all week, and I'm going to be going live every day this coming week, and I'm going to be giving you kind of like a whirlwind experience of what we do every month in the pouring studio, all compressed and jammed into 1 week. It should be a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to just run over, or I'm going to share my screen and show you what we do every month in the pouring studio. And let me share my screen, and I'm going to go over here. And here is, let me make sure I'm on that page. Good, I like that. I'm going to remove this for a second. All right, so here is the pouring studio. And this is the sign up page if you want to sign up, and I'll put the link in the chat. But here we go. We've got the pouring studio, a little overview up here, and we've got a couple awesome comments from some of my members right here. And then here we've got the monthly studio content. And this is what we do every single month inside the pouring studio. So I've got a little overview of everything here, but week number 1, we do a technique walkthrough. So I kind of we do one technique every single month. We focus on just one. So I walk you through that technique, and then anything you might need for that technique, any kind of special paint mixing formulas, any special tools, any special ingredients we use. I walk you through all of the stuff that might be special for that particular technique, talk about that technique in detail. I usually come up with some kind of a color theme for the month, just something to get some ideas rolling, some color ideas rolling in your head, something to try out that you might not have tried before. And then I do a technique walkthrough. So I go from start to finish, show you exactly how that technique is performed or created. And we'll be doing a technique next week. I think what we'll do is a funnel drag, like a funnel pour. It's a kind of a gadget technique, but it's a really, really fun one. I love the funnel pour. So we'll probably work with the funnel pour in our whirlwind membership week. And then, so that'll be Monday. We'll take a look at our technique walkthrough. And then Tuesday, I'll do our painting night live. And in that live, I just show you some variations of our technique. So with the funnel drag, it might be multiple funnel drags, maybe something else that might be exciting. So I'll show you a few different demos on Tuesday using that technique. And then on Wednesday, we'll have our studio chat. That's the 3rd week in the membership. And that's usually unrelated to our technique of the month, but kind of focuses on maybe broader topics in acrylic pouring, color theory, composition, finishing your paintings, all sorts of different topics we cover in the studio chat. I'm not sure exactly what we'll do come Wednesday, but I'm sure I'll have something fun planned. So that will be our studio chat on Wednesday. And then we'll have a members Q&A. So I'll answer any questions you might have about the technique or any other problems you're running into with your acrylic pouring. So Thursday will be all about questions, answering your questions, trying to solve problems, things like that. And I'll give you an email that you could use to submit your questions if you have any, and I'll be happy to answer them. And so that will be Thursday, our members Q&A. For us, our whirlwind members Q&A. And then we have a monthly art show every month that we do inside the pouring studio. I don't think we'll have time for that in our whirlwind tour, though. So maybe we'll have to, you'll have to become a member to enter the monthly art show, but it's a whole lot of fun. You can submit your paintings that you've done this month, and I'll take a look at them. We all look at them together, which is really, really fun. We can see what kind of progress everyone's made, take a look at what they're working on. It's really, really cool to see all the other members' paintings and what they're doing and how much they've improved, actually. And there's a marked difference between a lot of my members who started and then where they're at now. They've gotten a lot better. It's awesome to see. So that's really fun and inspiring. And then I also give away prizes, which is just a kind of like a really, really fun little bonus, which I enjoy a lot. So, and then Fridays, I'll do a Friday pouring demo. And so I'll keep that the same for this coming Friday. I'll be doing a pouring demo. Maybe it will be our technique of the month, maybe not, maybe a variation of that technique. One thing I've decided to do, though, is going forward in the future. Normally I've done these Friday demos and they've been open to everybody. Anyone can join. The public can join. I'm going to make them members only demos from now on. I'll still be posting videos on YouTube, kind of my regular videos, but the demos I'm going to keep just for the members. That way, any questions that come in, I can open up and talk much more freely about everything I'm doing. So that's going to be a members only demo from now on going forward after we do our Whirlwind Friday demo. So that is going to be a lot of fun. And then and then there's also the PDF resource section inside the members area, which is a comprehensive section full of all of the resources, downloads, paint mixing formulas, cheat sheets, tons of color theory handouts. There's all kinds of stuff in there. And so it's ever growing. I'm always adding more things to it. So that's a very valuable part of our membership. And so that's what we do every month in the membership. But remember, if you sign up to become a gold member, you're going to get some amazing bonuses. And this is a very limited time offer. Once I close down the membership this time, I'm never going to offer these bonuses again. I might offer maybe one course or maybe two courses, but never ever what I'm offering you right now if you become a gold member. So bonus number one is the Fluid Art Foundations course. I kind of talked about that a little bit. I showed you kind of a behind the scenes look yesterday, but this course is pretty much my entire paint pouring system broken down for you, and I walk you through it step by step. This is how I create every single one of my paintings, is everything that's in this course. So it's not really a beginner's course. It is kind of the foundation, how I approach every single painting. So there's quite advanced topics in this course, but I walk you through the three core paint pouring techniques: the ring pour, the flip cup, and the direct pour. So it's a pretty large comprehensive course. I'll be selling this course. I'll launch it after we close the membership down, but you'll be getting access to this course for free if you become a gold member. Bonus number two is the paint consistency course, and I talked about this earlier. We did a consistency lesson, and I showed you part of what is going to be in this course, but it gives you a step-by-step way of properly getting the correct consistency for any technique you want. There's about 3 or 4 consistencies that I use most often, and I'll break down exactly how to get to that consistency. So you can start mixing it. You can feel what it feels like. You'll have tools to test and make sure you have the correct consistency. It's going to be a really valuable course, I think, and probably I think the only one of its kind that I know of. So there have been a lot of other consistency type videos and things, but nothing as comprehensive as this one. So and this will also be included in your gold membership. And this course is coming out in June. So it come out, I'm not exactly sure when in June, but probably mid-June or so. And then bonus number 3 is a pricing your paintings, how to price your artwork. If you're thinking about selling your art, this course will be incredibly helpful. I walk you through 3 different techniques or 3 different strategies for pricing your work. One is, kind of very basic, very simple. And then there's kind of an intermediate strategy and then a more advanced strategy. And I have three calculators that I created and you'll have access to, which you can plug in some numbers and it'll calculate all of the pricing for you. It's pretty cool. I designed them for myself, but I'll be sharing them with you. So that course will be coming out in July. And then that's not all that's going to be in there. There's going to be a lot covered in this course, how to do some research on competition in your market. Maybe we're going to talk about some shipping issues and all kinds of different things, materials and how to price them. I have material sheets and they're broken down by square inch of material costs and ounces. So I've broken down all my paint into ounces, pouring medium down into ounces. So I'll give you all of these kind of spreadsheets that you can use for your own pricing. They come in very handy. I've kind of done all the work for you. Of course, these are in US dollars and my pricing. So you might have to tweak them a little bit, but they'll get you a big head start. So and so you don't have to actually do all this stuff yourself. And I give you actual multiplying numbers. So what you can actually just stick into the calculators, and it'll pretty accurately come up with your materials costs, based on my experience. So it's going to be a pretty cool course. I'm excited about it. And that's bonus number 3. And then bonus number 4 is the mega bonus, which is every other course I create in the future, you'll get access to for free as a gold member of the Pouring Studio. And I've got tons of them kind of sketched out and that I'm planning on creating. Some of them are a bloom technique course, a resin course, a geode course, which is going to be really fun. I have it's more of a mini course or a workshop type course on how to make panels, wooden panels for your pouring, if you wanted to make your own panels. The pearl pour technique course, and a whole bunch more. And that I don't want to give away everything, but there's a bunch of them. I'm planning on releasing a course about every month or month and a half or so. Some of the longer ones, more involved ones, might take a little longer, but my goal is to release a new one right about every month or so. And these will be available for everyone to buy. They're not only just for the membership. Anyone will be able to purchase them. But as members, you'll get access to them all for free, which is a massive bonus. And as long as you remain a member in good standing of the membership, you'll continue to get every single course I create in the future, all for free. And pretty much every other tool and resource I create too. It's all going to be yours for one incredibly low price, which you can see right down here. $25 a month is all it takes to become a gold member, or you can pay annually, $250 a year. You get 2 months for free, which is a nice little deal. But that is it. That's all you really have to pay, and you'll get pretty much everything I create from now and in the past and through the future, all for that one super low price, $25 a month. To say it's a bargain is like an understatement, I think. So, but that's everything that you get if you become a member. Plus, and I'll kind of walk you through next week, kind of everything we do in our membership in that super compacted kind of whirlwind month of the Pouring Studio. So that is a kind of a quick look at our at becoming a gold member. I'm going to flip back here, and where am I? I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I think I'll throw the chat down in the link in the chat, I should say. And so here it is. If you want to go check that out afterwards and sign up, that would be awesome. And by the way, next week is the last week of April, right? It's still April, the last week of April. And in May, we're jumping right into a brand new technique in the membership. And that's going to be the string pull / chain pull technique. It's a really fun one. And I've got a lot of cool little gadgets that I like to bring out with the chain pull, string pull. So, so if you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat about that. And then I'll, let's see here. I'll check and see if there are any questions right away, and then we'll jump into some color stuff. And let's see here. Chris is asking, what was our technique in April? I've forgotten, been obsessed with cloud pours. It was the floating cup pour. And you know what? I forgot all about doing an open cup. And I promised Susan we'd do an open cup pour. So I'm going to do an open cup pour before the end of April for sure. So probably that'll be our Friday demo, maybe an open cup pour or two. So, but that's what we've been working on this month in April was the floating cup. So, and Sharon is asking, you're so busy, when do you sleep? it's a very short amount of time lately. I've been cramming a lot into these couple weeks, so there's lots to do, but I'm very excited about it. So there'll be plenty of time for sleeping when we close the membership. I might take a tiny little break, but then we'll jump back into everything, and it'll be really, really awesome. So, and let's see here. Hey, Karen. Karen has joined us. Great to see you. And Monique has got an awesome comment. Thank you so much, Monique. And yes, I'm never ever offering this bonus again, as Monique said. She's a member. She was a member, and she's amazing. I love Monique. And Chris has got an important question, and it's, if you're a founding member, does this membership apply to us? Also, will you advise when our membership is due? Well, yes, if you're a founding member, if you are a current member of the pouring studio, don't worry about any of this stuff. It's all included in your membership for free. So everything I just talked about, you get absolutely. It's all yours. And it depends, like you will be rebilled. It depends on how you signed up. If you signed up monthly, you'll be rebilled every day the following month at the same day. So if you signed up on like the 1st, you'd be rebilled every month on the 1st. If you sign up for the yearly, then you'd be rebilled the same time the following year. So it depends on how you signed up for the membership, Chris. So, and Donna is asking, does everything work on mobile? And yes, everything, you can access everything on mobile. I've actually got videos on how to navigate the website using a mobile device or a tablet. It can be very difficult to see like the videos on mobile. So I'd recommend at least getting maybe a tablet. If you have one, that would be great. But it does work on mobile, and it does work on a tablet. Computer is, like a desktop is obviously the best to view the videos, like our lives and things like that. But if you have your computer hooked up to your TV, you could also watch that way. Like if you have a, I'm not like a smart TV, or I think if you have what's it called, a Roku or something, I think you can access your computer through that. So those are all different ways you can access things. But yes, everything will work on mobile. So good question, Donna. And Sharon joined yesterday, and congratulations on joining, Sharon. I'm so excited that you're a member now. And she was looking at all the resources and videos up till 3 a.m. Oh my gosh. So we were probably on there at the same time. That's awesome. So thanks for joining, Sharon. That's fantastic. So, all right. And Donna is also asking, if you want to check out those videos, I'll show you where they are on how to like go through the membership, or how to access the website on mobile device. Let me show you where that is. And anyone can watch those videos, and I'll show you right where they are. Let's see here. So I'm going to throw the link in the chat, and then you could go check them out if you want. I've got to scroll down here. And so I'm going to post. Now this says desktop on it, but if you go to that page, even though it says desktop, there's a button that'll take you to all of the mobile device walkthrough videos. So you can see how to access the site with mobile and desktop. It's a little bit different. The mobile, you have the little hamburger icon up in the right-hand corner. So you have to click that or tap that, and it opens up, the menu, and then you can tap on any of those sections. But I recommend going checking that out. That's in the comments. I put that link. And if you just go to the acrylicpouringacademy.com, the homepage, scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a membership walkthrough, or what did I call it? I can't even remember. It says membership overview. So if you click on that membership overview link, it'll take you to all those little tutorials. So you can check out what the membership would look like on mobile if you wanted to. That would be a great thing to do before you want to join. So, all right. And let's see here. Any other questions? And Nancy signed up yesterday. Thanks for signing up. Congratulations, Nancy. I'm so excited you are a member. That's awesome. So we're going to have a whole lot of fun starting May 1. We'll be doing some string pulls and everything. It's going to be cool. So, and then Susan wants to know when the pouring retreat is. I have to schedule that up, Susan. That would be a whole lot of fun, though, wouldn't it? San Diego is a great place to come and do some paint pouring. So maybe in the future, maybe in the nearer future, hopefully, that would be fantastic. If you wanted to come out here, have a little vacation in San Diego, we could get together, great big, hotel ballroom or something, do a whole bunch of pouring. That would be really, really fun. So, all right. And Donna says she has an iPad. That's awesome. That's perfect. So an iPad is great to use. You could easily access everything. You could download all of the handouts to your iPad. And if that hooks up to your printer, you could print them all out. That's perfect. So that's excellent. And all right, let's see here. And Susan's saying in the cooler months. Yes, in the cooler months. That would be great. So December, it's a chilly, about 68 degrees here usually in December. So that would be a great time to come out. You have Christmas and pouring and all kinds of things. So, all right. Well, I don't see any other questions at the moment, but if you have any other questions, please throw them in the chat, and let's jump into some color things. Let's start talking about color. So I'm going to flip back over here, and let me add this, and we'll go over here and we'll start at the top of our list and talk about some fun color stuff. So these are all just kind of tips and interesting ways of thinking about color a little differently and coming up with some different kind of color schemes. And whoops, let me get that in there. So number one is values. And again, we talked about values a lot earlier this week. And I have 4 different little ideas here for you. So number one is a full value range, which I like to use all the time. And that would be something like a white and maybe a black, and then maybe a couple colors in the middle. So like mid-value colors. So maybe like a purple gray or some kind of a violet. And maybe we would go with a metallic and throw in a metallic gold in there or something. And the metallics will help create some cells. So that would be like a full range color scheme, or full value color scheme. I'm sorry. We have white, black. We've got and 2 kind of in the middle. So that's one way to think about color schemes and come up with a color scheme, is just think about value first and then just plug in some colors. Number 2 is use predominantly darks with maybe some light accents. So this is kind of, we're going like an 80-20. So we have 80% darks. So maybe that would be a black and like a dark, like a dioxazine purple. And then maybe I'll just use this color again, that kind of this, let me get something else. Like this metallic cobalt blue. So these are kind of darks, mid-value to darks. And then we'd throw in something like a white, like a little accent to get some lighter values that are popping through. But most of the colors are dark, and then we have a little bit of light color. Or you could use, instead of white, you could use like a silver or something like that, something lighter. So that's kind of like an 80-20 value range, mostly dark, and then a little bit of light. And you could also flip that around and use mostly light and a little bit of dark. So let's say we have, this is kind of a lighter blue-gray, and let's say we want some white, and then another kind of light color. What do I have that's kind of light? Oh, shoot. I'll grab this, like a light blue, like this light blue permanent. So this is whoops, sorry. This is kind of a light color palette. And then we put in a little bit of dark. And so the dark could be, black if you wanted, or I've got like a a Van Dyke brown, that would be interesting, or even like a crimson, like a dark red. Or what else do I have here? Like here's a crimson-y color. You could add crimson and then put a little black in it to make it even darker. So this is kind of like an 80-20 value range the other way, mostly light colors and a little bit of dark. So, and these are all based on just picking your colors based on value. And then the third way or fourth way here is predominantly mid-value colors and maybe an accent of dark and light if you wanted to. So something like that would be, let's take our blue and our kind of gray blue and maybe a silver and maybe this metallic cobalt blue, something like that. That would be all kind of mid-value colors. And then you might put in a touch of, maybe a touch of black if you wanted to, or just maybe a little darker color. So maybe we go with like a little bit of the dioxazine purple. So something like this would be, you're staying mostly in the mid-value range. And you can kind of come up with a color scheme that way. And I use this way kind of a little less. I like to have a lot of contrast, so I like to use more of a full value range, but this is a fun way to do it as well. Kind of playing in the middle of our value scale. So, and let's see, I'm going to zoom out just a touch. It's a little close. There we go. So, okay, so that's kind of like looking at values and kind of coming up with some color palettes using values. And with this, using values, you're just kind of grabbing some colors and throwing them in there, and you're focusing mostly on the lightness and darkness. Next up, we're kind of focusing on another color aspect, which is color temperature. So with this way of thinking about color schemes, we're just looking at warms and cools. So you could use all warm colors, which would be kind of fun, which would be, let's say, a gold and a red, and like a red violet, something like this, and maybe a dark color. And this is like a Van Dyke brown. So that's a warm, dark color. So that would be a very warm palette. And of course, we have variations of warm and cool in here. You know, the purple's a little cooler than our vermilion. But you know, the Van Dyke brown is kind of in the middle, but still it's in general, it's a warm palette. So that's another fun way to work with color schemes. Think in terms of color temperature, and then we could also go the other way, cool. And so we just want to work with cool colors. Here's a perfect example. So if you have, you know, white is cool. These two different blues are very cool. Silver is cool. So that's a very cool color palette. And then either one of those is great. I've used them both. I'm a little more drawn to cool color palettes than warm ones, but I like using both of them. So you might be attracted to one more than the other. You also might be attracted to your values a little more to one to the other. Like you might be like lighter colors more than darker colors. So, you know, this all might play into how you like to work with color, and you have to take that into account as well. So these are just ideas. And then the third and fourth idea is kind of like what we talked about with the values. Use predominantly warm colors with a cool accent, or predominantly cool colors with a warm accent. I do this all the time. One of my favorites is like a white and a dioxazine purple and some kind of maybe a blue. So I'd just use this gray blue as an example. So here's very cool color. This is a very cool color scheme. And then I'll throw in some gold, and that's like a warm accent color. And I love this type of a combination because I love the cool colors, but then the warm is just this beautiful accent that kind of really sets off the cools. The warms make the cools cooler, and the cools make the warm warmer. It's a really, really interesting thing when you're working with these kind of dominant colors and then a contrasting color. So I use this one all the time. And then, but you could also flip it around. So you could have, you know, the warms. So you could use 3 different warm colors. Let's say, you know, these three, these are all warm: gold and vermilion and this crimson. And then you can put a cool color in there. And like, what would I put in? Something like this. You could put in, this would be kind of a complementary color scheme, but like this metallic cobalt blue, that would be a cool accent. Or you could put in like a darker blue, or like this blue gray, something like that. I don't have every single color right next to me, but I'm just thinking about using what I've got. Or you could use something like silver. So this would be like a warm color palette, and then you accent it with some silver, something like some kind of a cool color. I don't do this as often, like all warms and then a cool, but it is fun to play around with. So those are different ways of playing with color temperature. And then we have our classic color harmonies. And let me show you these. So I'm going to pull out the scary color wheel again. And don't let that intimidate you. And JC is asking a great question, and I'll answer that right now. How do we know what colors are warm and which colors are cool? That's a great question, and I know that can be confusing. So let me show you right here on the color wheel. I'm going to turn it over. So if you pick this up, and I recommend you do, I always put the yellow at the top, and that's how I orient the color wheel. And you'll notice right here it says warm colors, and there's an arrow. So the warm colors are yellow, yellow, orange, orange, all the way down to red, violet, right down here. And those are considered the warm side of the color wheel. And then over here, yellow, green, all the way down to violet. These are considered the cool colors. That's the cool side. So this is kind of how you can break up warm and cool. Think about yellow all the way down to red, violet. These are generally warm colors. Yellow, green, all the way down to regular violet, generally cool colors. But then then it gets a little more difficult when you're dealing with, let's say, warm colors. So you have all these different warms. Well, some of them are warmer than others. So, but that's, they're all pretty much warm colors. I would just go by the color wheel here. Yellow to red, violet, warm. Yellow, green to violet, cool. And you'll be in really good shape. So it can get a little trickier than that, but in general, that's how I think about it. And oh my gosh, there's someone blowing some stuff outside. Sorry about that. But so let's take a look at these classic color harmonies quickly here. I'm going to flip this back over. And so I want you to focus in the center of our circle. This is the important part right here. I'll turn it so you can kind of read it. So there's this great big arrow running right through the center. This is the complementary colors. So we've got like orange and blue right here. And so those are both complementary. And if we turned this, let me turn it again. So we have right now yellow and violet or purple. These are complementary. So yellow, purple, complementary colors. So they're right across each other on the color wheel. I don't use a complementary color palette all that often because it's probably the most complicated one to work with in acrylic paint pouring, just because these two colors really want to neutralize each other and create a gray. And we looked at that a little earlier in our color section. But what I do like to use is something called a split complementary color harmony. So a split complementary is you would take, let's say, our violet, and then the two colors on either side of our yellow. So violet, and you'd use a yellow green and a yellow orange. These three colors are what's called a split complementary color palette. And these are fun to play with. And you'll notice that any split complementary color palette uses colors from kind of all over the color wheel. So you'll have two warm colors and one cool. Or if we flip it around, let me flip it over this way. And let's say we wanted to use yellow. So we'll have yellow, and the split complementary would be blue violet and red violet. So now we have two cool colors and a warm color. So it works that on every color has a split complementary color harmony with it. But these can be fun to play with. So yellow, blue, violet, red, violet, those are really fun. And then for yellows, I oftentimes like to use gold instead of yellow, because it does kind of the same thing. It's a yellowish color, but it doesn't have all the problems that like a true yellow has. So I kind of fudge around with my yellows and oranges. I also use copper a lot for orange, but that's like a split complementary color scheme. And then we have what's called a triadic color scheme. It's basically very close to a split complementary. We're just spreading the colors a little farther apart. So we've got this triangle right here, and we've got it's called triadic. And again, you can rotate it to any color you want. This one is set to yellow, blue, and red. And that's actually, those are the primary colors. So that would be a very difficult one to work with. Yellow, blue, red is a difficult triadic combination. I would probably switch it up and go over to something else, maybe like a yellow, green, red, orange, and blue, violet. That's a little easier to work with. So, but these are all the classic color harmonies. These are things that a lot of the classical painters use. The Impressionists use these a lot. And you don't have to use these or stick to them, to the letter. I like to fudge around and kind of base things off of them. But like for red, orange, I'll just use copper for that, and for the blue, violet, well, I've got plenty of those. So I've got like a gray, purple, that would be great. And then like the yellow, green, well, most often I'd create an interesting custom mix. I'd use gold, and then maybe, can I reach it? Maybe a little bit of like this metallic leaf green in there to create this interesting kind of greenish gold color. And I use that a lot. And so you don't have to use these colors verbatim. You don't have to go to the paint store, get something called yellow orange or yellow green. You can mix something that's kind of similar and use that. So don't feel like a slave to the color wheel. You can interpret it and kind of fudge around with it as much as you want. These are just to give you kind of ideas. Something like these colors would look kind of good together. So that's a triadic color scheme. And then we have the final one I'm going to talk about is the most complex one on the color wheel, which is a tetradic color scheme. And that's 4 different colors. And and that you can do a tetrad 2 different ways. You have this kind of long rectangle here, and then we have a square. Each one of them is a tetradic color scheme using different colors. And it bases them on the spacing of the colors. So the square tetrad, the colors are evenly spaced all around. The rectangular tetrad, 2 of them are closer than the other 2. So it's a little more like a complementary color scheme. But tetradic is maybe the most difficult to work with because now you have 4 color families to deal with. So things can get kind of dicey, and I don't recommend it for beginners. And these are all just ideas. You could stay away from these for a while and focus on some of these other things we've been talking about. If you're really new to color, I wouldn't necessarily focus on this at all. I'm just showing you what you can learn from the color wheel. So let's take a look at just a tetrad quickly here. So this one, red, orange, yellow, orange, blue, green, and blue, violet. That is actually a very pretty tetradic color scheme. But one thing you have to consider is whenever you're working with any of these color schemes, you want to make one of these colors a dominant color, and then the other ones will be submissive colors, so more accent colors. So let's say the tetrad I'm working with is this blue-green, blue-violet, red-orange, and yellow-orange. Well, I need to pick one of these colors to be the focal point. What's the main color I want in the painting? And maybe I'll say blue-green, so that'd be like a turquoise, or maybe my cobalt blue. And then everything else will be in a smaller amount, because this is the color I want to be number 1. And then maybe I want the blue-violet to come in number 2. And then these red, orange, and yellow, orange, just small accent colors. We don't want all the 4 of these colors in equal proportion in our paintings, because it becomes really chaotic. We need one of these colors to be a dominant color. And that pretty much goes with every one of these color harmonies. You want to pick one color to play, be the star of the show. So pick one of these colors, and then the other ones will be kind of minor players. And I pretty much think about that in every single one of these types of color schemes. And one of the easier ways to do that, I'm going to pull this back up here, is when you're looking at color temperature. If you're working with this way, it's really easy to make to focus on one color family. So let's say I wanted to do that cool and warm. So here we go. We've got like white, purple, and then this kind of gray purple. Well, these are the main star of the show. Purple is like what this painting is all about. And then the gold, our accent color, is kind of playing second fiddle. That's just to add some contrast to the purples. So you always want to think in terms of what's going to be the dominant color, and then the subordinate colors behind that. And that can be very difficult to think about in the beginning when you're working with color. But that's a much more advanced color topic, is picking a color, which color order, I guess I could say, a color hierarchy. So color number 1, color number 2, and then these accent colors. That's a much more advanced technique and much more advanced way to think about color. So, but that's probably all I'm going to talk about with the classic color harmonies. That's probably way more than you wanted to hear. So, I'm going to just check and see if there are any questions. I'm going to flip back here. Let your brain wrap around that for a second. And then I will just check and see if you have any questions here and answer any that have come up. And Susan asked a great question, and I wanted to address this. And Susan is asking, where does gray fall on the color wheel? And gray, and there are 3 colors that you can use in every single color scheme you want. Black, white, and gray, or versions of black, white, and gray. So you could pick your colors, and then you can also throw in black, white, and gray if you want. Gray is not really a color. Neither is black, neither is white. But they are very critical to most paintings. That's how you get contrast most of the time. So I'm going to give you an example. Like in landscape painting, there's a million different greens, there's a million different blues. Most landscape painters, especially if you're doing a plein air painting, which is you're painting out in nature, and you only have about 30 minutes to make that painting because the light changes, every second that you're out there. You have to work very fast. And so you need a very limited color palette to work with. But every landscape painter has their own, there's a million different ones, but they have their own like color palette that they like to use. So they might have a red, and they might have a blue, and they might have a yellow. Maybe they have a green that they can mix with other greens. Those are the colors. And so there's like, what are your color palette? And you say, oh, I got this blue and this red and a green and a yellow. And they don't even count white, but they always have white. So white is always there. And most of the time they never even mention it, but you have to have white to lighten colors. So how do you get those white, puffy clouds? Well, you got to use white and a little bit of blue. So white is always there, and it's kind of taken for granted. Same with black. And most like landscape painters won't use black, but they'll make their own black with a green and a red. But black, I think black should always be there. So white, black, they're always there. And gray usually can also be there. Not everyone uses a gray in their color palettes. I like to use gray a lot. I mix my own grays. So gray is one of those weird colors. It's not really a color, but gray can tend towards any color you want. And let's say, for another example, I'll choose like portrait painting. So portrait painter, it's similar to landscape painter. They have a very limited color range, but oftentimes they'll have a big clump of gray paint down at the bottom, and they've mixed this gray paint with all these other colors they've been working with for many paintings. And this is oil paint, so it stays wet forever. So they got this big old glob of grayish stuff down here, and they'll just dip into that gray to cool down other colors. So skin tones, depending on where the light is hitting your face, like in the shadows, you need a lot of very neutralized colors. The lights, obviously, you have a lot of very bright colors. So they'll go dipping into this gray mass all the time, and they'll neutralize their colors. They'll tone them down, especially for clothing, backgrounds, stuff like that. They want the face, to be center stage. So those are going to be the purest, brightest colors on the face. And usually in one eye is what the focal point is. The eye in the light, that's in the light. But then everything else has to play, is supplemental, or has to step back. So you want it to be neutralized. You want it to be less intense, less vibrant. And so portrait painters often use that like big wad of gray paint. Now, we don't really do that same thing with acrylic pouring, but oftentimes what I like to do is I have a very neutralized color that I'll work with. I'll put it in with the rest of my paints, and I'll just add a layer of like a neutralized gray or something like that. And then it helps to give contrast to all the really bright colors. And then you have these more subtle colors. So it's a little different the way we use it in acrylic pour painting, but you can use grays if you want to. If you want really bright colors, I would avoid gray, but I love using grays. But hopefully that helps you think about gray. Where does it fall as far as the color wheel goes? Well, like with the actual color wheel, like this one, they don't really show a gray on here, but gray is what you would use to, desaturate and neutralize your colors. So it's not really on the color wheel, but it is kind of outside the color wheel. And then in a watercolor color wheel, and now I'm talking about watercolor specifically, gray would be right in the center. And with watercolors, your aim is to get these beautiful grays by mixing pure colors. And so like a yellow, like a specific yellow and a specific purple mixed together will make a beautiful, perfect, like neutralized gray color. So in a watercolor example, gray is at the very center of your color wheel. So that's probably way more than you want to know about gray, but that's a good question because we also bring in white and black, which you can always have in your arsenal of colors. So great question. I hope I didn't confuse the heck out of you with that one. And Linda is asking, can white negative space count as a light color? Yes. White can count as a light color. If you have a white negative space, it's almost like it's the absence of color is what white is. So if that's what you're going for, white will throw all the attention on the colors that are in the center of your painting. So I know there are several artists that work with, these are not necessarily acrylic paint pour artists, but other artists, abstract artists that work with white canvases, and then their composition is in the center somewhere of that canvas. And so it's almost like, that is the subject, but it's in this white void. So kind of floating there nebulously on this white surface. And that can be a fun way to paint. Like if you like to use a white negative space, I like to use negative space a lot, but I always like to, well, not always, but usually I like to throw a color in there. And so instead of white, I'll use an off-white. So a very, like a very cool off-white or a warm off-white. I find that it's just a little more interesting. And it still kind of has the same effects. But yeah, that would definitely count as like a light color, like a white negative space. So, all right. So I'm just checking to see if there are any other questions I missed here. Probably a lot of them. And let's see here. Let's see, what do we have? And oh, Donna's got a question, a great one. Is there a Facebook group for members? Yes, absolutely. We have a private members only Facebook group. Inside the membership, if you go in there at that, if you start in that attention, start here, if you click on that link, there's instructions on how to join the private Facebook group and a link in there that you can click on and request to join. So, and if you request it, I'll approve you as soon as I can. All right. Cool. Yeah. Or if you're on Facebook, just look for the Pouring Studio and request, and I'll accept you. So, all right. Great question. All right. Next up, let's do something a little more fun, a little less analytical, and this is a really fun way, especially if you're stumped on color. You're like, I don't know what to paint. I have no idea what I want to do, and you got all these tubes of color, and sometimes staring at all these paint tubes, you know, it can be overwhelming, and you're just like, I don't know what to pick. There's too many. I've got too many choices. Well, I'm going to show you some, a few websites that I like to go to if I'm want to explore some kind of out of the box thinking as far as colors go. And I think you'll enjoy these. So, and they're also on this handout that I gave you. So on the PDF, these links work. So if you click these links, it'll take you to these websites. So let me show you the first one. And I'll share my screen again. And this is probably my favorite one, but it's kind of a drag because there's ads everywhere. But I'll show you, let's see, let me remove that quick. But it's really, really fun to play around with. So I'll share my screen here. And, oops, come in here and we do this. So this first website is called colorpalettes.net. And there are, I mean, you can see ads everywhere, but don't let them bother you. This is full of amazing color ideas. And what I love about it is there's a picture next to all these little color swatches. It gives you a little more context, and it lets your mind imagine a little bit more of what these colors could possibly create in your painting. So like up here, this is like a paint pour right here, an acrylic pour. But up here we have like cool palettes, warm palettes. Let's click on the cool palettes and see what happens. And of course, an ad pops up. So we just click away from that or close. There we go. So yeah, you got to kind of fight with the ads, but it's worth it because you can get a lot of cool ideas. So like here's an interesting, beautiful, very neutralized oceany palette. I love this one. Here's like a warm kind of well, it's a cool gray, and then it's got a nice range of values. That'd be kind of a fun palette. Here's like a very earthy blue and kind of a taupey brown color palette. Just some browns and pinks. That's kind of pretty. Here's a very light color palette. This would be you're working in the very light value range with this one right here. That might be a little too light for me. I'd want to throw something darker in that one, but that might be very pretty. I love these colors. Here's a cool one. I like this kind of pinkish color with these greens. That's kind of a pretty one. So these give you just all kinds of interesting ideas. This is a beautiful color palette right here. I love these warm whites. So here's some off whites, warm whites, a brown, and then these beautiful blues. That's a gorgeous color palette. And then here's a whole bunch, 94 pages of this stuff. That's a ton of ideas. And sometimes it could be too many ideas. So I don't advise spending too much time on here. maybe, get it a couple ideas and then get out and then do some painting, because you could just get lost in here forever. But right down here at the bottom of the page, they have a search feature, which is kind of cool. So you can click on this and then enter any kind of search term. So let me see, what am I going to enter? I'll enter like space. How about space? We'll see. Maybe galaxy pour colors. Well, these don't look like that. And they'll bring up all kinds of random things. But like here's a Christmassy one. How about galaxy? Let's put galaxy. Let's see what happens now. Nothing found for galaxy. Oh my gosh. What else? Let's see. Let's put in. See, I'm coming up blank. How about? I'll just put in beach. That's such a generic term, but let's see here. That's a very bright color palette. That would be fun to paint with, these super bright saturated colors. That'd be a kind of fun one. Now, something like this, I see it and I'm thinking, we have this blue background. That would be a fun blue negative space. So if you put a blue base coat on and then did like a funnel pour or something with all of these bright oranges and pinks, that might be a very cool, like high key painting. That would be a fun one to play with. This is what it brought up with the keyword beach. Here's like a typical beach things right here. It's kind of a lime green one. So these are just all different kind of color ideas to play around with. It's a fun site to mess around. Let's go to page 6, see what they got over here. Well, these don't look very beachy, but here's some beachy looking colors. It's a very light beachy color palette right there. So, but that's our first site. It's a kind of a fun one to play with, colorpalettes.net. Let me go over to the next one, which is called colorhunt.co. And this one's a little easier to navigate. There's no ads, or far fewer ads on this one. And this is more for graphic designers, web designers, things like that. But they've got a lot of really fun different color palettes. And over here, they have a million different like keywords you could look through. And like right here, space. Let's click on the space one. Here's some galaxy type pouring ideas. Now these are all, there's like 4 colors in every one of these color schemes, which is cool. And don't feel like you have to use these exactly the way they look. Just use these for ideas. That's what I kind of look at these for, just to get some color ideas, color inspiration. I love these purples. Like that's a beautiful like purple palette right there. Let's see, let's look at something else. Let's look at let's see, winter, spring, fall. They have all the different. How about dark? Let's look at dark. So here's a bunch of dark color palettes. I like this green one a lot. That's a very cool color palette. Like a really, really dark, and then a couple mid-value greens and a really, really light, pale, off-white green. That might make a fun painting. So like here's an interesting one with these very neutral grays and then a red. That might be difficult in acrylic pouring, but that could be kind of fun. This is kind of a cool one. The green and orange, these neutralized green and orange. There's all sorts of cool, interesting color ideas. And these are just kind of to jog your, just to get some kind of a spark of inspiration going. Let's check out the random. So we can click on this random one. And here's all kinds of different things that pop up. Lots and lots of ideas. I like this one. That's kind of cool. Tons of ideas. Some of these wouldn't work. I like this one. I don't think I'd choose that one. That's like a crazy color scheme. I don't think that would work too well. But this one is kind of cool. That's like a really kind of fun neon 80s type of color palette. I like that a lot. I don't know how it would work with the pouring, but I'd give it a shot, you know. And a lot of these are you can use for just examples, just trying to test out different things, see what happens and what works together. I would never think about like using these colors together. So, you know, that's like, I might give that a try and see what happens. So like the magenta would be the biggest problem because magentas are transparent. So you'd have to beef that up and make it a little more opaque so it doesn't disappear, especially on top of this black. That would be kind of hard. But that'd be fun to try out. So it's kind of a fun blue one right there. I like that. So this is our second website. This one's easier to navigate. It's not quite as visually interesting because it doesn't have the pictures, but I do like to kind of browse around here. Next up is a kind of a weird one, and I'll show you this. And this one kind of works best if you have some kind of color in mind that you want to work with. So let's take a look. My color dot, no, my color dot space is what we want. My color dot space. Here we go. And so this is a kind of a fun, crazy website, and it's got some options up here, but I would stick on the palettes, which is the first thing it selects. So just stay here. And then we want to generate a color. So just click on this bar here, and then up pops a little color window, and we can just move this around to the different color families. Like what about, let's look at some yellows. And then we can move the little dot around. Like here's a really bright yellow. Let's see what happens with that. I don't know. And then click on generate, and it'll bring up all kinds of different color ideas for you. And so we can just scroll on down here. So here's like a gradation, matching gradations. Here's like a different type of they call these spot palettes, and they have like some kind of formula that creates these palettes. I'm not exactly sure what the formulas are, but some of them can be very interesting. Let's see, let's take twisted spot palette, classic palette. That's kind of cool. I just don't like the yellow in that one, but let's choose a different color. And it keeps going on and on and on. Let's go up to green. And let's say, maybe we want like let's just pick kind of a middle value green and see what happens. So here's some greens. These are all kind of standard. Like I'm not super inspired by any of these. I don't really love this green also. But so it just pops up all kinds of different ideas. So let's see. Let's go back and do a better color. Let's go up to the purples. Here's more of a neutralized color that I would like to work with. Kind of like this kind of pale neutralized color. Let's check that out. So here are some interesting colors. That's like a gradation. There's this spot palette again. I don't really love these browns. So, but it all depends on, you know, what you put in there, what color you put in. But sometimes these can spark some interesting things. This is kind of a cool one, like these purples and then these kind of warm beiges. It's kind of nice. So that is the color.space one. And I don't use this one as much as the first two. And then I'll show you the fourth one is a really weird one. But it can be kind of fun. So it's called Peloton, not Peloton, but Peloton.com. And here we got to accept the cookie thing. So this is kind of like a color wheel. And there's some ads on here too, but they're not quite as bad. So we have this color wheel going on, and you can move things around in the color wheel. And I'll just work with this one color. It's got, up here we have some different options. And right now it's set to monochromatic, so that's one color. And these right in here in the center, we have like in the middle is like a neutral. And then as they move out, they're lighter and darker. So you can grab these dots and move them with your mouse. And things will change. And then this will change eventually here. Let's switch it over to like a 3 color. So now we have 3 dots. And I'm going to grab these dots here. Oops, what's happening? It's not wanting to do what I want it to do. Nope. Let's see here. Why doesn't it want to do that? See, normally it should be changing this big, the big thing should be changing, but I don't know why it's not changing. Maybe we'll switch it up here. Of course, it doesn't work when I want to show you. No. I don't know. Maybe I'll go over to the 4, the tetrad. So here's a tetradic, the 4 colors, and we have these 4 different dots. And if you hit down, if you hold shift, you can move these dots individually. I don't know why it's giving me that weird arrow thing though. But then it changes up here. And I thought this would be bigger. I don't know why it's not working on this one right now. I don't want any of that stuff. So it's a weird site. It's kind of not doing what I want it to do. Go away. So freestyle 4 color. Shoot, well, because this is not changing. The one in the center should be the one that's changing. I don't know why. It's up here. These are little ones are changing. But it can be kind of fun just to play around with moving these little dots and seeing what happens. And then you can move around the, the dots in the center will change the lightness and darkness of the different colors up in your little preview box here, but this should be big down here, which I don't understand why. So sorry about that. It's kind of it's a funky site. I use this one a little bit, but not too often. And what I use more often is what I'm going to show you next. So those are some weird color things that you might want to try out. I'll stop sharing here. The first 2 I think are the best. I use those more often than the weird ones that you have to enter things or move stuff around. But I think you might get a lot of color ideas from those, and they're on your download sheet, so you can check them out if you want to. And all right, so let's see here. So JC is saying she's going to be looking at color palettes all night. Oh my gosh. Well, now you're really going to hate me because I'm going to show you something really fun, and you might spend way too much time doing this. So let's see here. I got all of these paints. I'm going to move these out of the way. And I'll show you the final thing. And the final thing is, let me cover up my sheet, is a color swatch, like a mix and match thing, which can be very, very fun. So I'm going to move all these paints and I'll pull these over here. So if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or the paint store, and in the paint section, they've got that whole wall full of color swatches. Well, I go in there and I grab a bunch of them, and you can grab as many as you want. I like to just grab random ones with colors that I think look interesting, and I'll show you what I like to do with them. So let me flip over here. So here we go. So I've got all of these color swatches that I grabbed from, these are all from Home Depot, and all these different kinds of colors and like color families. And I grab them and I just kind of separate them loosely by color family. So here's some, yellowish ones. Here's a bunch of turquoisey ones. And then I've got some blues and a bunch of different types of purples. And here's a bunch of, kind of reds and rust colors that I like a lot. Here are some very light blues, like these types of things. So just grab what you like. I love these, like these very, very neutralized light purples and pinks and kind of off whites and things. And just grab, and you can grab, I would do a kind of, I wouldn't grab every single one, but grab a ton of them, and because they're free. But however many you feel comfortable with, I'll say that. Grab a ton of them. I've got tons of them. And what you do, I like to just separate them loosely in kind of these color families. It makes them a little easier to organize. And then I will just pick one to start with. And I like, say, this blue. Like, I really like this blue. And then I'll start grabbing random colors like this green and just kind of setting them on top of each other and just playing around with them. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe this dark and maybe a really light color. And you can make one color more dominant by having it on top. So you could put these other colors underneath, and you can kind of get an idea, put together some kind of little color schemes to see what you might think. And so this one's kind of interesting. We've got a light, we got a dark, we got two kind of in the middle. It can be kind of a fun color scheme. Let's get rid of this one and throw in like a purple. So that's a little bit like that one we looked at on the site just a moment ago, like a crazy green and a crazy like magenta. And like maybe I don't want that brown. I want like a really dark, here's a black. That could be kind of fun. Maybe I don't like this green though. Maybe I want something like a dark teal, like something like that. So, but then I'm like, well, this is too much. Maybe I don't want that as the main color. Maybe I'll do this and switch out the teal. And that looks pretty cool. So maybe I want this as more of an accent color. Or maybe this is too dark and I want like a light color on top. So it's a really fun way of just really fast and quickly just throwing different color ideas together just to see what you think about it. And it can be very helpful. Instead of looking at all your tubes of paint, it's a different way of kind of visualizing color. So let's try a new one. And I want something like a lighter color. Here's like a kind of a lightish gray color. I like this color. That might be kind of cool. And then maybe like an orangey color. Something like that. And then maybe some kind of an accent color. I don't know what would look good. Maybe like a green color like that. Something like that might be kind of cool. So now the other thing is you might have these colors in a tube, or you might have to mix them up custom. So like this color here, like this dark green, you might have to take like your metallic cobalt blue, and you might have to add a little black to it or a little silver or something to neutralize it a little bit more. So you might have to modify your tube colors to kind of get closer, and you don't have to get exactly like an exact match to these, but you might want to get them closer. So, but this is a really fun way of playing with color in a different, unique way, and it's very fast, and it's kind of fun. So here's like a dark blue and like a brown, and then here's like a kind of a neutralized green color, and then maybe a really light color, something like that. could be kind of an interesting color palette. So all these different cards have all these different colors to play with, and you can pick. These are all kind of neutralized. These are colors I'm drawn to, but if you like the brighter colors, you know, like here are a couple of bright ones, like the yellow and the orange and the red. You know, you can definitely get those too. You can have like red and black, and maybe this this would act as like a gold color, and maybe a like a purple, something like that. Be kind of cool, but it's really fast. So you can just throw stuff together, get ideas, maybe jot some stuff down in your notebook, some just color ideas, and then go about and then, you know, mix up some colors and do some test pours to see what you think about it. So that is my color swatch mix and match game, we can call it. So let me flip back here and see if you have any other last questions. We've gone on for quite a while, but hopefully you found that interesting. It gave you a whole lot of color scheme ideas, color ideas, and Monique I'm giving JC a meltdown. We're going to stop. So that's it for the color talk for tonight. So let's see here. I'm just going to check and see if there's any questions. But and if you have any last minute questions, throw them in the comments. And Carla is saying she thinks I'm excited. I'm going to paint after this. I'm thinking about it, Carla. I'm thinking about it. I've got lots of cooking up in the old noggin. So I've always got color things in my head. So, and that's kind of a curse, I guess, when you're, you know, when you're so involved in paint pouring, you can't shut off the ideas. They just keep coming. So, you know, I have to find time to like relax and think about other things. So, because I'm always thinking about colors or techniques or like something else to create. So yeah, it's but I love doing it. So, all right. So I'm just checking to see if there are any last minute questions. Okay. So let's see here. No, I don't see any. I don't see any questions coming in. I didn't see any that I missed. I'm just going to check again here. But no, I think we're okay. So I'm going to just throw in the, yeah, Linda just said she just saw sunset last night and thought of a painting time. Yeah, everything can kind of influence colors. Everywhere you go, you might just see something, you're like, wow, that would make a cool painting. So yeah, be on the lookout for interesting color combinations. They're all around us. So I'm going to throw in the last, or in the, well, I'm going to throw the link in the chat one more time. If you want to go check out the pouring studio, here it is. And get ready for next week. We're going to be doing that. I'm calling it the Whirlwind Pouring Studio Membership Week or something like that. It's basically all going to be within that Acrylic Pouring Extravaganza page. So I've got more links in there now. So I'll have some more handouts probably coming your way. Tomorrow, we're going to have a Q&A. A few people have sent in questions, and you can send me questions at brad@pouringstudio.com. Let me see if I can throw that up quick. Here we go. So if you have any questions, send them over to brad@pouringstudio.com, and we can answer them tomorrow on the Q&A. If it's like a paint pouring related question or color theory related question, if it's like a different type of question, I'll just answer you right away. But so we're going to have a Q&A tomorrow at the same time. So I've got some questions that came in. which are good questions. I'll answer those. And then if you have any questions live, I'll be happy to answer them as well. So have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a great Sunday tomorrow. I'll see you at the same time if you want to join me. And then Monday, we're going to kick off with a brand new technique. I'm going to walk you through a whole month of the membership crammed into 5 short days. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think we'll be doing probably the funnel pour. Sounds good to me. So thanks so much for joining me, everybody. I will talk to you again really, really soon. Thanks a lot.